Welcome to 6 Million Seeds. I'm Meryl Fury.
And I'm Carrie Bruno. We are healthcare professionals and co-creators of this podcast. This episode is brought to you by Rice and Beans. This week on 6 Million Seeds, our guest is Dr. Anna Negrón. She is a bilingual board-certified family physician. She owns a nutrition consultation solo practice, volunteers at a free clinic for the uninsured in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, and teaches young family doctors the role of plant food in medicine. In addition to her role as a physician, Anna is an author, lecturer, and a senior faculty at the Crozer Family Practice Residency in Springfield, Pennsylvania. She serves on the Medical Advisory Board of Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine and the board of the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies. Having been vegan for 30 years, Anna educates and empowers us to recover our health by returning to our nourishing earth roots. Whether you're a healthcare professional, parent, teacher, someone who is already plant-based, or someone interested in learning more about a plant-based lifestyle, there is something for everyone in today's conversation. We hope you find the discussion as empowering as we did. Welcome to 6 Million Seeds. My name is Carrie.
And my name is Meryl. And today we have the honor and privilege of speaking with Dr. Anna Negrón. Welcome, Dr. Anna Negrón.
Thank you, Meryl. Thank you, Carrie.
Oh, we're so grateful to have you here today.
Yeah.
So you know that this project, this podcast, is all about children's nutrition and the lack thereof, maybe, in our country. And so we have a couple questions just to kind of get us rolling, and then I expect we'll just chat, because we do, right? So tell us, when you were a kid, you were growing up in Puerto Rico, what did you eat as a child? What was your diet like as a kid?
Well, I'm 74 years old, so we're really going way back. We ate rice and beans, eggplant, pumpkin, something called yautía, which is akin to a taro root, lettuce, tomato, and a lot of vegetables that grow in hot weather, a great variety of fruits, because that's tropical. Once a week, we had chicken or a tenderized, steak, one of those that you had to pound to make them tender.
Yes.
And other offal, like liver, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
The family made cheese, local, with rennet and milk, and squeezed it through a cheesecloth.
Mm-hmm.
We ate white bread and drank milk, often flavored with chocolate.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So fruits and vegetables were a big part of your diet when you were growing up? It sounds like meat was a sort of a smaller part of the plate, yeah?
Yes, that's right. I mean, meat or chicken was, maybe once a week, but, we had all the other vegetables and rice and beans, of course, and the salads, which were really not very varied, and lots of fruits. Mind you, I'm a child of the 50s, when TV dinners were pushed to give mothers a break.
Yes.
As an excuse. We had ice cream, so we had cookies and cakes, but they were often, though present, more like a treat. Yeah.
Okay. So you grew up, and then at what point did you come to the mainland, the United States?
I was in my 20s, so it was like 1973 for my residency. And, growing up, there was no school lunch. We were sent home for lunch. School ended pretty early in the day. So we had some kind of junk, recess, and then we went home. The first time I ate cafeteria food was in college, and the food was really in Puerto Rico prepared on the premises. So it was really very much like what we would eat at home, rice and beans and stuff. So what turned the tide for me was that your question?
Yeah, that was going to be the next question for sure.
Yeah, was really, how do you become, how did I become aware? I did not really become aware until, oh my gosh, I was, like I say, around 40 years old when things were just mounting. It was ethics. It was philosophy and ethics.
Okay.
It was, I didn't want any part of the excess, the waste, the animal, the violence, all of that.
Mhm,
That's
mhm,
what turned the tide for me.
mhm.
Okay.
So now in your practice, I'm going to fast forward another couple of years. You are now you're still practicing, and you are in Phoenixville area, right?
Correct.
Tell us whereabouts that is in Pennsylvania.
That's about 15, 20 miles outside of Philadelphia.
Okay. And you work in a clinic for people who have challenges getting health care, right?
But the clinic is a free clinic, not associated with any kind of government grant or subsidy.
Mm.
It's a freestanding clinic that serves people without health insurance.
Okay, great. So tell us about an average patient. What types of illnesses do they face?
My average clinic patient is an immigrant,
Mm.
uninsured, overweight, and most likely obese, with diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol. I mean, these are the 4 things that they come with:
Mm-hmm.
overweight, diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol, and the sundry of other symptoms that accompany that, like aches and pains and gastroesophageal reflux, etc.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm. And they're immigrating from what part of the world?
They're migrating from Latin America, most
Okay.
of them. So it's from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and because Puerto Ricans, we are citizens of the United States.
Right.
They don't really form part of the clinic because they most likely have some kind of health insurance. So
Mhm.
it's the people that don't have access to health insurance.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Or do you work also with the homeless?
Some homeless people come to the clinic. Latin American or Spanish speaking are very frequently not homeless.
Mhm.
They're at least not in the area where we serve. They cram themselves into small areas,
Yeah.
as opposed to many of the American citizens that often end up homeless.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
And I see, because I am the only native Spanish speaking physician for the clinic, I see almost exclusively Spanish speaking patients.
Got it. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
that's helpful. I
Yeah.
mean, in its way, right? It's helpful for people to have someone who speaks their same language and that they can, let down their guard, hopefully, right? And say exactly what's going on, even though the patient and physician relationship, I think that's challenging anyway. People don't say always exactly what's going on, right?
Well, there is a shorthand communication when something about, because I didn't grow up here. So I come, from another country, and it's easier to relate when you haven't been here all your life. When somewhere else is also populated by people that have the same needs of shelter, care, love,
Mhm.
belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thankfully, that's a universal language. I think everybody needs those things.
So how do you work with these particular patients and to manage all of the illnesses that they come in with?
Well, I could also say that I have a private practice and that I have another cohort of patients, and you might like to know that now or later.
Yeah, now.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay, because it's really in contrast. My clinic patients are coming in with these concerns that I just mentioned, but my private patients are affluent, overweight, take a variety of supplements, and have heart disease and cancer. So this
my
is
goodness.
really one group in contrast with the other.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay,
Interesting.
and it's interesting, yes, because well, you can imagine, the people who have more education, more access to everything in this country, they know little bits more. They are medicating themselves with supplements. They have other ways to perhaps support their symptoms, with spas and exercise and,
Right,
and all
right.
of that. But they have fallen prey to, because they are really disenchanted with the traditional medicine, they've fallen prey to the supplement industry. So they come with all these supplements, and still they haven't really protected them from heart disease and cancer.
That's right. That's right. Interesting. Okay, so I have to back up 1 second. The first cohort of patients from the free clinic come with overweight to obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Is that what you said?
Hypertension, high cholesterol,
Okay.
and a lot and sundry symptoms. They're perhaps younger because they are migrant population. They come here,
Yeah.
they're working age,
Yeah.
so they haven't had their first heart attack yet.
Okay. And the second cohort of patients, or second population, are affluent, overweight, and dealing with cancers and
heart disease. And their overweight is more modest, perhaps. It's not as rampant because, like I say, they have access to all these other, supplements and ideas and ways in which they can kind of keep that in check, at least on the surface.
yeah. So I just wonder, like, okay, the public health nurse in me says, what makes the difference between those two populations? That one is overweight with diabetes and hypertension, and the other is overweight with cancers and heart disease. Is it the age? Is it the type of food they're eating? What do you think it is?
Ding, 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 ding.
Right.
I mean, it's the type of food they're eating. It's really the relentless presence, of fast food, fried, chicken, cheese, sodas, that is affordable, quote unquote, for people who are on the go, working 2 jobs and eating on the food truck or, the Wawas, or versus the other one that's eating, not the Egg McMuffin, but the Eggs Benedict,
Okay.
Yeah, very similar,
Yeah.
right? Not the same,
Same
but very
thing with a
similar.
different
Yes.
name, and and surrounded by other different rich foods.
Yeah.
And yes, so I mentioned affluence, and the other one, poor and going to a free clinic. I mean, that in itself tells us how we have stratified our population to, having less and having more. But neither group has escaped disease, because disease, the same kind of disease I see in bankers, financiers, lawyers, teachers, nurses, doctors, as well as, landscapers and cooks and housekeepers.
And dishwashers. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And the common thread, they all have kids and they're all teaching them whatever they're teaching them about food.
Yep, it starts young.
It starts young, and it's not only the parents. I mean, it's really that we have a system that inducts children in this kind of food.
Yeah. So then if you could suggest anything to parents on how to resist this pressure for, kids to eat this kind of food, what would you say?
Well, I like storytelling, and to make it really short, if patients forbid cigarettes and alcohol and drugs at home, I ask them, how do you do it? It's the same way. You don't bring those things in the house and you forbid them. So really, parents can, if given the support, and this is a big word, if given the support, they can put their foot down and say, no, we're not calling for pizza. No, we're not having nuggets.
Yeah.
No, we're not bringing that junk in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like they don't bring, alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or
Right.
or
Or
maybe
at least
guns.
if they are going to bring that, they keep it in a cabinet way up here and the kids aren't allowed to touch it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's wrong, because if it's in the house, it means that it's good for some and not for others.
yes.
So
Yeah.
I
think that's-
advocate it.
Yeah. That's huge, because I don't think parents can expect their kids to eat healthy, and parents can't, request that they make all these changes if the parents aren't invested and aren't doing the same thing. You can't have, parents eating separately from the kids, because the kids are going to want to follow the parents and use that as a model. So
Right.
you have to model it and actually do it for your kids.
I think it will backfire, because as soon as the children are able to eat outside of the home, they will say, I can do it now.
Yeah.
If I'm in other words, I'm not allowed to do it under my parent supervision, but once I'm out of their sight, I'll do it.
Right.
Yeah, that is true.
That's right. So I have a question related to, I mean, I was just writing an article on this for our newsletter, that the parents aren't the only ones influencing the children, obviously, right? And you were talking about show them the scenes behind the scenes, right? Behind the curtain, what's going on with food. Because the parents are not the only ones influencing the child's choices or giving them food. I remember when my younger son was small, he would go and spend time with his beloved Aunt Betsy. And I loved Aunt Betsy too. Love her pieces. Aunt Betsy, however, had a little bit of a food thing.
Food what?
A food thing, I'm going to call it. I don't know what that
Okay.
was. A little bit of a food thing. Aunt Betsy was probably 4'9" and 200-ish pounds. Okay. So she had a food thing. And she would, first chance she got, give my little toddler at the time Twinkies and Twizzlers and oh my goodness, I can't even tell you what all. Actually, she didn't even tell me what all because she knew I would lose it. Every now and then my son would come home from visiting her and say, Betsy gave me Twinkies. So we know, long story to say, we know that the parent of the child is not the only influence the child has. And school is certainly a strong influence on what kids eat. How important do you think the school food program is in a child's health, even, short-term and long-term, their ability to learn and their ability to retain and then go on in life as an adult?
Could we say it any stronger? I mean, it is paramount. Schools are a place of learning, and learning does not skip the cafeteria experience. For some children, the lunch is, and sometimes breakfast, the only hot meal they have of the day.
Right.
Parents and teachers should show that they care. I mean, this is really, we have just left children's nutrition in charge. We have left the food industry in charge of children's nutrition. And it has been not because of children's health, it has been out of convenience. And we really need to revisit that. The school lunch should be a model for nutrition.
Yes.
I mean, that's another discipline. When the children go to lunch, they're learning something else. So again, the food in the cafeteria could serve as an extension of the disciplines of, reading and writing and comprehension and all this. So a respectful opinion of, bad food, and make your kitchen at home a laboratory where the children are allowed to mix and match, but again, only good ingredients. And then they can talk about it, I don't know if they still have show and tell, but they could bring, show and tell. This is what I made for my family, or even, a picture. This is what I made for the holidays, or
Right.
and
Right.
share with other children. Their they're creating the world as opposed to being consumers of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine, like, if that was the way we raised our kids, right? If that's the way schools were created, that lunch was actually a part of the education. Like that's a
Yeah.
that's a paradigm shift right there, right? And then it could be something like, okay, it's your birthday today. Tell us what you're doing about your birthday. And you wouldn't want to make it too exclusive so that the kids who maybe can't afford or don't have the resources, or they don't have the support, families, chaos, whatever, so they don't get left out of that. But tell us what you did about your holiday or your birthday and draw a picture of that. Or maybe for your birthday the kids actually get like a small, I don't know, fruit salad, or
Yeah.
I have this picture in my head of a beautiful Middle Eastern dish with rice and currants and dates, and oh my gosh, that would be so lovely if that's what we actually did around food, that we built it in as a part of the curriculum and taught children from young.
The paradigm shift is so important because we have really migrated to this kind of fast and processed food for convenience. It's easy to clean up. You just toss everything, all the refuse in the trash can. But imagine if instead of a bag of Twinkies or whatever, you serve children an apple studded with a few cloves and some cinnamon that have been baked, and then they eat it. I mean, that's beats a muffin in my book every time for a celebration.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to send us that recipe. An apple with a few cloves and some cinnamon. Is that all?
It's in my book.
All right.
That's great.
Well, tell us some about your book.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I wrote it as an antidote to our reliance on pharmaceuticals, and it's written for regular lay public as well as for health professionals, because as we mentioned earlier, we don't get any nutrition education in our professional training. But it's also for anyone who wants to really be entertained by the stories that I tell regarding my medical school years, my transition into how I started a program where I cooked with my patients starting in 2003, how my colleagues have been all too much on the machine and unwilling, unable, on something. I'm still confounded by that, to change the ways, and to really help patients support health. It's filled with, at the end, patient stories. It has diseases that abound in this country that are absent in most countries that are plant-based. And then, chapters on, for example, how to assess your own nutrition by looking at your kitchen. It's called the virtual kitchen tour, which I practice with each one of my patients. What do you give real estate to in your house? So I am really happy with it. I still learn from it, even though it's my voice and my words and all I know. When I pick it up and I read a chapter, I say, darn, that's pretty good. Let me bring that back to the surface, because it is all I knew at the time. And really, regarding nutrition, it's the same thing that brought us to be healthy human beings that live to reproduce and to leave the next generation in a better place, which sadly is not happening to this generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hold up your book one time. Let's see it again. I think the cover is beautiful.
Yeah.
Nourishing the body and recovering health. Beautiful.
Very colorful.
Yeah, I love it.
Sunstone Press took it and published it without changing a word. I am so grateful for their efforts to really give voice to this physician, storyteller.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice. So if there's one thing that you could recommend for our audience, a suggestion that something that they could do right now to make a difference, what would that be?
Well, aside from really getting off the myth of protein and meat are so important, or calcium, and what I would say is find some soil, plant 3 seeds, watch them germinate, care for them as they grow, see how much water they need, how much sun they require. Just 3 seeds. Keep them alive for 3 months. And then do it again. Find others and ask them to join you in. Talk about it in person, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever people put their stories in.
Yeah.
Join the movement. I think we really need to create a revolution, and it's not done by talking. It's done by doing. It's by creating, not consuming. Trade this notion that they've sold us that we are consumers. Consumers are things that bring things to ashes. We're consuming the world. We're consuming our resources. Fires consume and leave nothing. Create with every seed you plant. And there'll soon be 6 million.
Oh.
Trade this notion and let the world become what we want.
Well, we want to thank you so much, Anna, for your time and your just everything, your consideration and your thoughtful words. Beautiful, just
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much
It's
for
been
everything.
such an honor to
Yeah.
have you here with us today.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah. Thanks you for everything too that you're doing for the world and for the community, for your book that you breathe life into. It's you in that book, you know. Just so grateful for you. Thank you.
Without you, this work would not come out. So I'm honored to be here today.
Wonderful. All right, so we're going to sign off and we'll say bye-bye to Dr. Negrón, and we'll see you next time in
Yeah.
about 2 weeks on 6 Million Seeds.
Best
Bye.
of luck to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
6 Million Seeds is made possible by the generosity of Bruno Chiropractic, Acme Construction Metals, EXP Realty, and Deck It Out Builders. We thank you for your support.